And action, and welcome everybody. This is PnP Weekly, episode 155 in the PnP Week. Let's start with today. Today is 28th of February, 2022. My name is Vesa Juvonen. I'm a program manager in the Microsoft 365 platform areas. And with me as a co-host is...
Good day, everybody. My name is Waldek Mastykarz, and I am Cloud Developer Advocate for Microsoft 365 at Microsoft.
Excellent. So in the PnP Weekly, we always talk about the latest on the Microsoft 365 platform. We cover the latest articles from Microsoft and then a few articles from the community. There's so many articles what's happening there. So we're always prioritizing on community blogs, articles, and then a few videos. And if you are writing something cool, please remember hashtag PnP Weekly so we can notice the awesomeness what you're actually writing. So that's
help us to help you.
Help us to help you. There we go. And PnP Weekly is published in the post podcast and the video. Is it a video blog? I guess it's the video blog.
Blog,
is that
webcast?
I don't know what it's
YouTube. It's on YouTube.
It's in YouTube. Yes, indeed. Cool. So today we have Ayça Baş, she's actually a teammate of yours in your team.
She is.
And we're going to talk about her career, how she got to be in Microsoft. She's been actually in the show before, but it's been already, I think, 1.5 years or something like that. I think it was August 2020.
It's been 84 years.
Yes. Yeah. And actually, yesterday I was writing something down, and I was like, the date, 27th of February 2020. And I'm like,
you're like stuck. You're like, what?
21 or 22? What is it?
Yeah, like which? It's what? 731st of March 2020, right?
Exactly. So, but it was a real, actual kind of a brain hiccup when you're like, what year is it? This isn't good. So,
yeah.
Clearly, the 4 days off last week for me did its purpose. So. Anyway, let's actually jump to the interview with Ayça and then come back on the articles together. So
we can use my mug like begin. Start.
That's good. So thank you, Ayça. Let's actually jump on the discussion. That was really good. Begin. Now, Ayça, thank you for joining us on the PnP Weekly episode 155. It is 28th of February. It's actually March tomorrow. It's super strange. So really, really cool. Now, Ayça, you've been actually visiting the PnP Weekly before as well, but can you do a quick recap on who you are and what do you do for a living?
Yes, it's been actually so long. I probably joined PnP Weekly when I started in cloud advocacy team. When I was blonde back then. Now I'm brunette.
Oh, right. Yeah. Things change, right?
Yeah, things change. Yes, of course, I can introduce myself again. Hi, everyone. My name is Ayça. I'm a cloud advocate at Microsoft. I am Turkish. I live in Dubai, and I enjoy doing a lot of projects related with Graph, Microsoft Teams, bots, Azure stuff like logic apps, functions, and we get to work with a lot of those technologies. And yeah, this is about me, and I'm in the same team with Waldek.
Yeah. So coming back on the color of the hair, I have to say this: when Waldek started, his hair was still brown.
Well, it was yes, it was. Back in the days, I had hair.
Bad joke. Sorry.
Realities of life.
It's not a joke. It's realities of life. So yes. Now, Ayça, can you talk about a bit let's start with your kind of a background a bit. So how did you get to be a cloud advocate? What does it actually mean to be a cloud advocate from your perspective?
My story with Microsoft starts in a way back, actually, when I was a student ambassador 9 years ago. And back then, I was studying in a double major program, electrical and electronics engineering and software engineering, and I was really interested in tech. That's why I decided to become a part of a program like student ambassador program, and I applied. They accepted me, and I got a chance to meet a lot of people there inside Microsoft, also in the program, like students like me, as well as MVPs who mentored us a lot. after that, I got a chance of internship at Microsoft. We used to have developer experience team. I worked there as an intern for a year, and as an intern, don't take a look as an intern, because at Microsoft, interns work as much as FTEs. So it was a really hard time because I was at the end of my college years, and then when I finished my school, I joined Microsoft in the college hire program, and I started in the consultancy part. I was a premier field engineer, so we were visiting customers all around Europe, Middle East, and Africa. I probably visit more than 100 customers, and
Wow.
We were delivering workshops, projects to the customers all around EMEA. And I learned a lot of depth stuff about technology there, because you have to know everything really well, and the customers you were interacting already knows a lot of stuff. So you have to be good at what you're doing. Like if I was doing a lot of bots and cognitive services back then, and I needed to get deeper and deeper every time, because you need to answer the questions. And after 3.5 years in the services side at Microsoft, it was the starting of COVID. I got a project of Ministry of Education of one country, and I was working there for bots and most of the Azure technologies, but also there was Teams involved, and we were doing a lot of graph integrations. And since it was the beginning of COVID, there was actually a lot of questions how they can track the attendance of students, how they can, create more flexible environment for teachers to cover their classes and so on. So we were experimenting a lot of stuff. And then I saw this opportunity related with Teams and Graph, but as well as how you can integrate these technologies with other solutions like bots, for example, and also it includes a lot of other stuff like web apps and most of the Azure development technologies. And that's why I joined advocacy, because I did a lot of dev stuff with customers, and now I was more interested in how I can show my projects to the communities, how I can work really closely with student ambassadors to build many more projects to help them maybe their colleges or their communities and so on. And so far it's going really good.
It's actually really cool that you were a student ambassador, but now you're helping student ambassadors then inside of Microsoft. So it's a kind of a really cool story as well. So now, what is can you go back on what is a student ambassador? How you get to be a student ambassador? So what is that?
So Student Ambassador Program, if you search it, the full name is Microsoft Learn Student Ambassadors Program. Everyone can apply to the program. What they're looking for specifically is, I think it's really close to MVP, but now you have to be a student. They're looking for if you're interested in technology and if you're interested in being part of communities and maybe talking about technologies learning from each other and so on. They look if you have a GitHub link, if you have LinkedIn, what are the previous projects you built before, or if you didn't build, what is your story, why you want to be a part of the community. So it's actually a really nice program. As far as I know, now they have more than 3,000 or 5,000 student ambassadors all around the world. And you get a chance to meet with a lot of people. Let's say you get to meet someone from Brazil, another one from Egypt, another one from India, which is an amazing thing, because as a student, day to day, you join your classes and you wonder what are the other people doing, especially during COVID. Some of the students I know, they couldn't join the exchange programs. Usually they go to other countries with exchange programs, but they couldn't do it because of the limitations. So these sort of communities, student communities, are really crucial to get to know what others are doing and learning from each other. And also, these people will become your connection in next years. They will be, working in good companies as a tech person. So they will become your important connection too.
Yeah.
And is it the same way as MVPs, where MVPs are per product or technology stack? Is that the same thing there? Or is it more like the Microsoft Cloud and you get to be exposed to everything?
when you first join the program, you get an introduction level of important things like GitHub and Azure, basically basics of everything. But then you choose yourself a specific area, for example, low code, and then you get to meet with people in the low code part in the channel.
Yep.
But it's totally optional, and I mean, you have to choose your own interest area, and you have to get to meet with those people if you want to, join in a project or if you want to drive a project. Again, it's totally your interest, so they're not. Let's say they're becoming a part of the community because of their interest. They join the community and then they choose which part of the community they want to be more active.
Because you can't really be a master across the whole cloud. It's just impossible. There's so many technologies and topics, and it's just sorry, Waldek, bursting the bubble. So
the bubble.
No, but there's so many things. How did you then? You talked about the fact that you were doing bots and all. How did you choose to select bots? What was the interesting thing in bots?
You mean in Microsoft services in my job?
Yeah, or in the student ambassador. What was the thing which got you interested on that topic?
To be honest, the program almost 10 years ago was so different than what we have right now. It wasn't that global back then, and we were basically talking to our regional people. For example, we had a really big program in Turkey, and I was a part of a student ambassador program in Turkey, and I got a chance to meet with others in Europe, Middle East, and Africa. But now they moved to the program in another level, so you get to know everyone from all over the world. So it's like a one group, one program right now, so you can contact with anyone. And when you drive a session, when you deliver a workshop, anyone can join in the program.
Cool. So
when I was in the program, it was more of a local program. Now it has changed and became more global. Just like how cloud advocacy became like a global program, global department in years.
Yeah. Because that's always, anyway, we are all connected to the internet, and anyway, the learnings and things are pretty much the same. And then the beauty of doing that is really then understanding the different cultures and getting connections throughout the world, right? So really have that connection and not just isolated on your own country. So which is really cool.
But actually, the reason I choose bots and cognitive services moving forward was when I was an intern, cognitive services, which was Project Oxford back then, it was newly announced when I was an intern, and I was so impressed by the idea of, you don't have to be data scientist, you don't have to know machine learning, but you can just call an API and, use Vision API to do some stuff at Vision. Or because I was also getting computer vision classes at college, and I know how hard it is to write something with MATLAB. And just seeing one API to do that impressed me a lot. There was only 4 APIs back then in the first version of cognitive services. Now probably there are more than 35, 36, which is amazing. I guess for developers, it's a really nice way to quickly use some AI and move forward. That's the biggest reason I want to focus on that area.
And that's really cool, because then it comes with the IoT stuff and automation and all of that stuff, and you can detect, for example, if your vegetables are eatable or not, or whatever. So it's just
look
massive.
at them, like tomatoes are not supposed to be green. It's not that
option.
hard, but I get your point. Yes, like there are more advanced things, right? Like you want to detect sentiment of a text at scale, so you don't want to, read 20 million pages. You just want to, like what people feel based on surveys that we got, and you can analyze that at scale. But I guess maybe to your point, if you have a huge farm, you don't want to be going and looking at each tomato at once. Like you want to have a drone. So I heard I think there was a case where somebody would have a drone take pictures of the field, and they would be able to see like it's ready or not, and you could be able to detect things like at scale, and no longer going to the field and looking at each plant one by one.
Yeah, exactly. And back then, my first major was electrical and electronics engineering. So I thought like I should definitely work with devices. But okay, I can build something with Raspberry Pi, but I don't know how to build the entire Vision stuff. And that point, Vision API and entire Project Oxford were announced, and it was an amazing thing. You just, you use the Raspberry Pi and the API, and you can build the entire thing in, just 1 week in a hackathon. I think it's really cool for especially a student just discovering what is in the field, and what we study in the school is sort of different than what we have in the field. So it was
it's the theory and
great
practice,
discovery for
right?
me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's the academical theories are so different than the realities on how we actually work, and so it's different. So,
but
linked.
It is hard,
sure.
right? But it is also hard, right? Because like things evolve so fast in the IT, especially, right? I think the other day somebody did a comparison, right? That if you are a teacher in English, for example, the language, if you learn, or the things you learn, they apply for 20 years. So you learn it once and it's the same thing, 20 years, right? So this is your investment.
Evolution moves slowly, yes.
Exactly. Whereas in IT, it's a year or so, like you constantly need to do things, right? And then imagine like every single year, like you need to revamp the curriculum, the exams, the materials, like it's insane amount of work.
Yes.
Right. So like
Totally.
with that, I'm not surprised that we don't always see the latest and greatest at schools. And I guess the programs that we offer, like they offer a great ability for students to get exposed to the field, as it's called, right?
Yeah, totally. I mean, in school we were ironing all the circuits and doing all these stuff, and on the side I was also watching Lady Ada, who was the Ada Fruit person, and she was really famous. I mean, when I was at college and I was following her, she was doing all these cool stuff with Raspberry Pis, lighting up some stuff, and she was only doing small things and then writing some small piece of code and doing all these glittery stuff, and I was there ironing all the circuits to work. so it's actually really different.
So that makes me curious. Have you built like your own appliance from scratch, or either from pre-baked components? Have you built anything by yourself?
Yes, of course. It's I mean, if anyone watching us studied electrical and electronics engineering, all of the labs we studied, you build your own circuits all the time, and you also build your own components by using resistance and stuff, but it's your own. But in the real world, there are devices doing that and much smarter. And you don't have
much smaller.
But it's good to understand the basics, how it actually works, for sure.
Course.
So I still remember when I was studying many years ago, but they basically learned, we were studying even assembler, which is basically the CPU level put and at and all of that. So you understand how the transistors and computer CPUs are actually working. Does that information have any value anymore? Certainly not. But
Disagree. Depends on your work, right? If you need to do high performance things, like there's no quicker way to do it in assembly. It's not the most efficient one, but it is like it can give you this edge, right? So like everything else, it's just a matter of your job and assignment, right?
True.
Totally. Yeah.
Now, coming back on a bit on what you're doing right now. So one of the new initiatives which you started is the Learn from Community. And this is really, really cool way of sharing the learnings between the other people in the community. Can you talk about a bit on what this is all about?
Yes, of course. So it all started with our YouTube channel, Microsoft 365 Developer YouTube. We have a lot of great content there showing you how you can, learn something in 2-3 minutes with tips and tricks. We also have other content deep diving into how you can build stuff with Graph Toolkit, with the Graph API, how you can build Teams applications by using new Teams toolkit and stuff. But there's also a section at the bottom you can see, which is called Show and Tell. We started recording some videos with student ambassadors last year, because they were coming to us with great projects, including, for example, they built a solution to integrate Moodle and Teams to monitor attendance for students. And there are so much more other features included in one single project to improve their school system because of online learning. Also, we got some other projects to improve student ambassador community, how they can onboard a new person with a Teams bot and so on. So we wanted to make sure we highlighted those projects because these are real life projects, and some of other communities, institutes can also reuse these projects. So that's why we started recording show and tell videos with student ambassadors. We also had great projects coming from MVPs. Also, we got some projects from, I guess they are partners, ISVs, startups. Basically, yep. We try to cover all community as long as they have a project, including Microsoft 365. If they develop something with Microsoft 365 and if they thought that their project would be really useful for others too, we recorded a short video with them, like 15 minutes or 20 minutes video to talk about how they built the project, what was the reason they actually built it, and what are the technologies they use. Most of the projects already have their GitHub repo, so anyone who watched the video can directly go to GitHub repo and try themselves. And then we decided to make this as a series. So just a way of highlighting what we have in the show and tell videos. That's why we came up with an idea of learn from the community. So learn from the community is just an article way of show and tell videos. So we have show and tell videos, and we also have a short version of the blog post for each video. In the first paragraph, we explain why the solution is built, what was the problem. And the second paragraph, we talk about the solution, and we just share the video link, and that's all. Nice.
I know what happened. Computer crashed again. It does that every time now. You're on mute, Vesa. Don't be on mute.
Yeah, computer crashed. Sorry, I need to reset this computer. Okay.
Should I continue?
Yes, please do.
Yeah.
Okay. I was talking non-stop, by the way.
We're not the stars, so it's okay.
Okay. I guess I was done. Okay, so that's so that's the biggest reason we wanted to highlight community projects, and we want to make sure that these projects are known, and if somebody else needs something like this, or if someone wants to get inspired and build their own idea, that might be a really good way of learning. And so that's how we came up with the whole learn from the community idea.
Yeah. Now, does the solution, does it have to be an open source? Does it have to be in a GitHub to be able to cover it? Or are there any requirements on that?
Not really, because in one project we covered in show and tell, it was coming from an MVP, and they were actually using this bot solution on their own company, on Teams, and they didn't have GitHub repo yet because they were just experimenting and improving the bot over probably 1 or 2 years. They didn't make it public yet, but they're working on it. We still want to talk about it because it's a really great idea how to improve productivity day to day. So yeah. That's why we still wanted to talk about it. And if people are interested, they can reach out to our MVP or me to learn more how they built the entire thing, actually.
Yeah.
And if somebody would like to be on the show, can they reach out to you, or do they need to send a pigeon or an owl somewhere?
So there's a official way and an unofficial way. We have a form under ak.ms/share-your-story. You can just go ahead and fill out the form, and we can reach out to you, or you can ping me on Twitter, and we can just talk and discuss if you're willing to share your story and learn from the community. We can just do it informally, and just record a video and write about your project and learn from the community.
That's a great opportunity for ISVs and the smaller companies. And now you mentioned that the smaller companies and ISVs, does the company size, does it matter, or is it just anybody who's building on Microsoft 365 to tell their story?
No, not exactly, because there are so many great projects out there, and I know that everyone, some companies need exactly the same thing. Some companies need some different features, but almost the same. It's great to hear that. It's great to feel that you're not alone. Let's say one university built a solution, or one company built a solution that helps their productivity and improves their system. It's totally inspiring for them. So we don't have any limitation if it's a small company, big company, or one person startup. It actually doesn't matter as long as it's a project built using Microsoft 365, and of course, if you have other solutions like Azure per platform, that'd be awesome to see how you build the entire end-to-end solution by leveraging Microsoft 365. So still, I feel like these project scenarios are so inspiring for others. Yeah, it's a great opportunity for partners to also tell their story, for sure. And not just partners, MVPs, and then EDU people and all of that. Now, I will transfer back to my primary machine. Sorry for that.
Will you though? 3, 2, 1.
Here we go.
You know, in the movies, there are always like one shot from the side and one
camera,
shot
from
the front.
And now there you go. He said he would switch. He's not. He's still not here. Like the camera is still off.
No, camera should be on. So
no, well, it's not.
You can see me, Ayça?
Yeah, I can see you.
Okay.
I cannot. Like for me, you froze on the phone. You're sitting like this, like Woosah. I have no idea what you're doing. Anyway,
that's
maybe
what I do all the time, so it's okay.
Yes, of course you do.
let me do that, and let me do that. So, and this is fine. Technology every now and then fails us, so it's okay.
This is working. There you go. Thank you.
You're welcome. So
on the bombshell. Good night.
Let's see if we can get another one. But it's okay. Technology is every now and then a bit painful. Now, Ayça, we also wanted to talk about the fact that you are a woman in tech, and we absolutely promote this full equality on this industry, because it shouldn't matter are you a man or a woman, because it just doesn't. It's all about what people actually do. Would you have any tips? Let's start with the educational side. As you were a student, was there any tips come to mind for other women who might be looking into moving to the tech, or thoughts related on that?
Yes, of course, 100%. So people in general, while they're studying technical field in college, or maybe they're not studying technical field, but they want to work in the technical field, it's a common case now. Sometimes it might be hard for you to know where to get started. So that's why, because there are a lot of technologies, even when we work at Microsoft, there are so many technologies in Azure. We have more than 200 products. It's hard to decide on which one you want to learn. Yeah. While you're deciding which field you want to concentrate, even let's say you want to learn programming language, which one you should learn is a really hard decision. I think communities play a really big role for your decision. First of all, I talked about student ambassador program, but there are other programs, there are other communities like PnP Community is one of them for our area. Also, there are other communities like JavaScript community, Azure community, other cloud communities. I highly recommend students to be a part of these communities to feel a global reach. And of course, being a part of their own school communities make a big difference too. For example, software engineering branch or some other branch that they're interested. But these communities we generally speak, we generally get in touch, are getting you in a way that what people in the world are doing in this field. And what sort of people are getting hired with which technology background. So that's why you can learn which technology you have to focus on. I guess either women or men, it doesn't matter. you should be more aware of the communities, in my opinion, because they will give you the direction, which area you can focus, and then you will see what are your interests, not only to get a job, but maybe there will be areas you will be enjoying a lot more than the others.
Yep.
In these communities, you see people are presenting all the time, talking about different technologies. So you get a chance to hear a little bit of everything so that you can understand what are the ones that seems like really cool for you. And then you can jump into that area. So in this case, I feel like it's not about the gender. It's more about how you improve yourself, because there are a lot of resources that you can use right now online and free, like Microsoft Learn is just one of them. And there are so many others that you can just dive in and learn. Not using these resources are actually not the best way, let's say, when you're trying to be a part of tech community, when you're trying to find a job in tech. You should definitely leverage all these free resources and get to know people in the community, maybe get a mentor in the community. These are really great ways to really get on board what people are doing, and you can just jump in and be the next one presenting about the technology in the community.
Yep. And if we think about the Microsoft 365 platform community or PnP community, that we have getting started sessions, we have sharing is caring initiative. So if people feel that I don't feel good about even going to the GitHub and start getting started, no, it's okay. We have sessions. So everybody is welcome. There are no boundaries, no limits on the previous knowledge, and people are basically helping on getting started. So absolutely 100% everybody is welcome. So, which is 100%. Cool. It's like it should be. So.
Yeah, exactly. I guess you should be good in what you're doing so that you will be privileged. I guess this is the way of getting the privilege. If you're good at, Teams apps, then you will be the one presenting, you will be the one getting hired, and so on. So I guess communities really help you get involved.
Practice. Yes,
exactly.
Well, yeah, and also I think there's also another aspect to it, right? Because at the end of the day, like today, I think we have more resources available to us ever. Like we have videos, we have articles, blog posts, materials, tutorials, whatnot, and there is a lot of them available for free. So as such, like there is nothing in your way to close yourself in a room like for a month or two and just pile through all of it. Will you learn? Absolutely. Is that the most efficient way to learn? I don't think so, right? Because like you will try to reinvent the wheel in a way. And it's so much easier if you can learn from somebody else, because somebody else went at some point through exactly the same hoops. They experienced the same thing. So why not have shortcut in a way, cheat as such, to say like, you know what, like let me cut the corners. Yes, like you basically are going to cheat where you will intentionally avoid making the same mistakes others did, right? And that can work with the steps and give you the advantage that you can learn more efficiently in a way, right? So having a mentor, having somebody who went through the same thing and who can even maybe not give you the answers, because eventually probably the answers will need to come from you, but make you think, make you aware of this other way to look at things, like that is invaluable. And the cool thing is that with communities you mentioned, you can find mentors, right? So you can, like, that is in your own hands.
Yes. And it's completely fine to reach out and ask for the people to help and ask for the people to mentor. And it might be that the one person you were asking is already too busy and mentoring too many people, but then you can ask another one. So there's no harm of asking.
Or maybe even they will point you to someone else. Like, hey, I cannot take another, but I recommend you reach out to, or if you like, I introduce you to someone else.
Exactly. So.
Yeah, totally. And also being involved in the projects in the community, or maybe having a not mentorship, but internship is also critical, because you get to see difference between theoretical education as well as hands-on. You will also get to meet people maybe working on that field for 20 years in the community or in the internship that you are doing, there will be developers doing this for a very long time, so they will basically show you what is the way, instead of spending months, what is the quick way of learning stuff. And I guess it's also critical to be a part of the internship program or working in the field is really important.
And again, that helps on doing those connections and networking, which will help you then to get hired in a different companies and all of that. So it's all connected with getting to know more people. So
it is, and I think so. There's also an interesting thing, right? Because if I think about my school, like thinking back, I'd rather have it to be like 4 years of 3 months internship, where you have to internship with a big company, small company, local company, global company, just to get exposed to these different ways of work, and not just do like one and you're done. Because I feel like that is truly the experience you get. And maybe another one would be, in these days especially, you have to internship with a remote company, because that is also the way we work now, right? And like we're no longer limited to geography. Like you live in a place and you need to work within half an hour distance. Like no, like why, right? So that is also an interesting thing. Like I'm curious to see how schools will evolve to accommodate for that.
True.
Yeah, I'm sure there are some schools already doing that. In my time, I was studying, but also I did a lot of internships in different companies. In one e-commerce company, I was a project manager intern. The other one was a gaming company. I was a support engineer intern. And the other one was in university. I was there for software engineering. And it's important to try different fields, as Waldek said, so that you see if this is the job you want to do, or if you want to do something else. I guess it's a great experience you can have when you're studying.
There's so many different roles. You don't need to be a developer, even though you're in tech. You can be a program manager, a project manager. You can be a graphical designer. You can be a experience designer. You can be a
marketing person.
Or research, and so many different options. So. Now, I guess it's time to starting to close up. So just a recap for all of those who are looking into sharing their community story and their learnings and their solutions. What was the URL to contact you?
aka.ms/share-your-story.
Yeah, that's the form. And of course, you are visible in the social media, in Twitter, and in other channels as well. So that's absolutely an option as well. But I guess that's it. Any last words from either one of you?
Thank you so much for having me. This is always fun to be in PnP Weekly. I guess it's been almost a year.
It is. Yeah. Time flies, I guess. Yeah.
That's true. That is true. Thank you, Ayça, for joining us. Really, really great discussion and good perspective related on the educational side or EDU side of the things as well. And the initiative what you're leading, that's spot on. We learn from hearing the stories from other ones because it's not about the theory. It's not about the documentation even. It's really about, okay, so what are the real things what people are building? That's where I think the innovation is all about. So getting those ideas from there and getting excited to see those. It's really, really cool. But thank you, Ayça, for this one. And me and Waldek, we're jumping next in the podcast and in the video to cover the weekly articles. But thank you for this.
Okay.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
So thank you, Ayça, one more time. Great discussion, as always, and awesome work on promoting the community stories. And by the way, the videos she's doing together with Bob and Rabia and Dan in the Microsoft 365 developer YouTube channel are just really, really good. So spot on many of the topics. So really, really awesome stuff. And there seems to be all the time cool new videos, and so it's a constant flow of new things, which is really, really good. Now let's actually jump on the articles. I guess I need to share my screen.
You should.
Unless we can do this in pantomime.
Yes, we can. So actually, maybe the next time we need to try it the way they do with the weather forecast, when you are in front of a screen and you're actually not seeing what's in the back, and you're just like assuming that somewhere in there is this place, and then something is going to be raining. It's like, yeah, exactly. It's like this or that distance, like doesn't matter.
And then I'm watching another screen and trying to figure out which way your hands should be.
And you're like, Italy isn't there.
Exactly. What is this map?
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, so let's jump on the articles of this week. I guess you can start, Waldek.
Perfect. So we open up with a summary of what's new in Microsoft Teams, February 2022. So again, we get summary, which is a great way to catch up on the latest updates, changes, improvements across Teams. And whether it's features, devices, it's across the board, single place to give you a quick glance into the most important changes in February 2022 in Teams.
There's some really, really cool updates once again happening. So this is super, super cool, kind of a full list of what are the latest and upcoming features as well. And typically they're actually stuff that we've been shipped. So it's not like stuff which is intended to come at some point. It's enrolling to get shipped already. So really, really cool stuff. And a lot of great new features across the board. Now, this next one, we had best practices for successful large meetings in Microsoft Teams. And this is something actually what we do with the Microsoft 365 platform community all the time as we execute 2 different community calls every single week, at least 2. And we have up to 300 people in the calls. And the whole focus of the blog post is really to talk about the settings and configuration options which you have when you're setting up the meeting or during the meeting. And I'm going to zoom in here a bit. The key point here is that you can actually have this meeting options, and depending a bit on which version or the latest version, for example, in Microsoft, we are always dogfooding. We have a different set of options here, but there's a constantly evolving set of options related on what you can control. If you are in a large meeting, like our community calls are quite large, we typically do not allow, for example, the attendees to have a microphone because otherwise, well, you don't know what's going to happen. So there's an accidental people joining and all of that, but you can control all of those settings in here. And then if needed, you can always promote the person to be a presenter, so which is really, really good. So cool stuff.
It is interesting the way it sounds, like allow mic for attendees. So that means that before we allow people to join a call, we send them a cardboard box in which they need to put the mic, send it to us, then they can join, and then
exactly. That's precisely what it means. Yes. Exactly. So good way of thinking that. Now, the next one is actually on the topic of today with Ayça, right?
Yeah, exactly. So the next article is from Ayça about series that she does, right? So in this article, she goes together with Stefan Bisser. Is that her guest in this? Yes, exactly. And they talk about the bot he has built, the use case behind it, and so forth and so on. So it's really interesting video that shows a showcase use case to build bots. So I would definitely recommend you to have a watch, because it might be the thing that will inspire you to do more with bots and teams.
Yep, absolutely. And I in all of this stuff, the most important thing is to understand the art of possible. So what exactly can we do? Oh, I can do those kind of things. So that's actually really cool. Now I have an idea of doing these things. So these are really, really great call-out scenarios. Now, from Chris McNulty, we also had a SharePoint Syntax product updates, February 2022. SharePoint Syntax is its own offering, so therefore it's not bundled under the SharePoint monthly summary. It has its own monthly summary as well, because there is a licensing requirements in some of the stuff as well. But basically a good call out again on what is the latest and what are the new features and functionalities. And something which we've been involved I've been involved is also the new templates for SharePoint Syntax in the lookbook. So basically sample content and structures and sites where we actually enable demo content as well, so that you can easily understand, again, the art of possible related on SharePoint Syntax. So really, really cool stuff as well.
Really cool, yeah.
Good. Then we had CLI 5.0 news.
Exactly. So today, as we record this on Monday, February 28th, we released version 5.0 of CLI for Microsoft 365. It's a new major version for us, and the biggest change for which we had to had a major bump was moving away from the AAD graph APIs that were deprecated in June 2020 and which will stop working. So no working at all. exactly.
Yeah. Deprecating is
by
a
the end of
different thing
June.
than networking.
Exactly.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
So that is exactly why we felt like we need to upgrade now so that you can use CLI without any disruptions. And along with that, like we included tons of new features and improvements. I'm not sure if that is the biggest release that we've done. Typically, the major versions that we do aren't really that big, right? Because like for us, a major bump is where we clean things up once a year, because over time we get other things that in the afterthought we think like, you know what, we should have done it differently.
Yep.
But this time around, we included so many new things because community submitted so many cool things that this release is really, really big. So in the article that we show on our screen where we announced the version, we only picked a few of the most noteworthy things, but there's a link also to the full release notes. And I would definitely encourage you to go through all of them. Have a look what has changed, what has shipped, because there might be cool things for you. And definitely upgrade CLI to benefit from the latest work of the community.
Yep, absolutely. It's really cool already in the version 5, and you do not upgrade the major version for nothing. So you only upgrade in the major version when it's actually breaking chains. So
exactly. So, and we typically do it only once a year, right? Yep. So like last time we had version 3.14, and on version 1 we had 120, yep. So it's exactly that. Like unless we really need to break stuff, which we hate to do, like we really try to stick as much as we can on the minor ones, because like everyone else, like it's in no one's plan to break things and upgrade things unless you have to. So that's exactly why if we don't need to, we don't want to do it. But sometimes it's just like, you know what, let's make it a better thing for everybody. And then we have to do a change.
Yep, makes perfect sense. Then Louisa Fries had a new blog post on how to create a custom connector for your own Azure hosted API. And this is actually a really cool setup as well to talk about how to build those custom connectors, and the scenario being that you implement a custom API, which could be then connecting to even on premises or whatever data you have in Azure, and how do you create that connector for Power Apps to actually connect to that information. So really good getting started blog post, actually released today as well. So, yesterday actually, 27th of February, but really, really cool clarification how things work, what do we need to do, how do we secure things, how do we do that, how do we call things in Power Automate to get the information. So really, really cool stuff. Good. Then there was a blog post from Martin at Linkestry.
Yes, exactly. So Martin did awesome work. It's really impressive. The article that we show now is because Martin wanted to contribute to CLI. And well, one of the things that we do in CLI is that whenever you contribute a change, we expect you to also contribute tests to basically prove that the code is working as intended. Because for us, like we maintain CLI over time. It's already, I don't know, 4 or 5 years in now. And whatever code we include, we want to be able to contribute it over time. Over time, we acknowledge that things will change. And as we refactor things in CLI, we want to be able to, at any point in time, ensure that whenever we change something, we have a way to prove that everything is working still as intended, and we do it through tests. Now, many folks don't use tests as extensively as we do in CLI, which is why you can imagine that there is already a threshold we put people through, like, hey, if you want to contribute, we love your work, but you also need to do this additional step to include tests. And it's something that people have a learning experience with, and Martin was yet another person who did that. But the thing that he approached differently is that he shared the learnings that he went through with tips, how to approach tests, how to test, what are the different things. And he wrote all of that in an article, and then he shared that with everyone else. And the article is so elaborate that we even included it from our wiki and our docs, where we say, like, hey, if you contribute to CLI, here are the steps. And by the way, here's the article that Martin wrote, to which, like, where he explains some more about how you can deal with that, how you can deal with tests, because we acknowledge it isn't trivial for everybody of their start. And we see that this article is a huge improvement to simplify it. So again, big thanks to Martin. And just another piece of evidence that together like we can fill the blind spots we have to things, right? Because like for me, I work with testing CLI every day, so I know my way around. But for somebody new, it isn't as simple, right? And articles like this, together with community, we can improve the experience for everybody so much more. So this is awesome way that shows how together we can make it a better place for everybody.
Yep, absolutely. Let's share for the common knowledge and build on top of the community knowledge rather than isolate. That's always a good thing. No idea what happened there. I apparently took that.
You pulled the tab.
I apparently pulled a tab. Wow, but no, doesn't matter. So, because Leon's article, no idea what happened there. Leon Armstrong's article around new document card view for the libraries with SharePoint Syntax model applied. So I'm basically looking into the new document card view, which is available for the document libraries as well. So one way of rendering things. So there's so much actually development happening on the list and libraries related on extensibility and the UX rendering options. And these are really, really cool. So you can actually adjust things and adjust layouts, and all of this is JSON definition. So it's basically list or view formatting, so you can actually modify what is being shown, which is really, really cool.
Nice, very nice.
And like I said, Leon actually walks through all of those options and scenarios and really, really cool stuff. Now, Michael Mallet had a part 2 on something which we covered a few weeks back.
Yes, so he talks about applying DevOps process to your SPFX project, part 2. And in this article, he talks about provisioning. Let me quickly see, provisioning the package to a site, which site you want to deploy it to, and so forth and so on. Right. So how do you basically set up a test stage and how you deploy and build the package to it?
Yep. And how do we automate things and all of the pipelining and PnP provisioning usage and all of that. So really, really cool stuff. And this is a follow-up on the part 1 as well. So thank you, Michael, on that one. Now, Stefan Bauer had a blog post around CSS keyframe animations in SharePoint Framework. So basically, well, Stefan is one of the, no doubt, one of the best persons in CSS and the styling and UX stuff on the browser. His stuff is quite often at the level of I have no idea what he's talking, but so it's cool.
It's called magic.
It's magic, indeed. But basically, he talks about the options and styling options and how to use those CSS animations together with SPFX. So making your web part and experiences really to pop from the UX and simple examples, but really talks about those options in the blog post. So thank you for that one. That actually really is shining and changing color.
Yeah, it is really cool. And I guess the cool thing here is that he pushes the limits of how much you can actually build with CSS without JavaScript, which is way easier to maintain, but also you can apply it in a broader way, right? So you don't need as much script, which sometimes is limited. Right, because like nowadays you cannot just drop any script on a page, right? And there are some things that you can do in CSS, and he shows these different things that you can do in CSS, whether animations or other things, for which like your first thought might be, I need for this piece of script so that I can know you can do it in CSS, right? And so there's also this very inspiring thing to look at, like, aha, I didn't know I could do this in CSS.
Yeah, it's actually really, really cool. So just to explicitly call that out. So this is basically the color cycle, which says then 0%, 50%, 100%, and that's where we are referencing to that one. And then we're changing things in every 1 second in infinitive form, and that basically then changes the style. And it's actually pretty cool. It's that you can do these kind of things. So
have you just explained CSS to people?
I guess I did at some level, but yeah. So, but it's still, I had no idea that you can do these things. So really, really cool stuff.
Now you do.
So yeah, that's how we learn, by sharing. And then Peter Venstra had a blog post around Power Automate. Surprise, surprise.
Yeah, exactly. So he wrote an article about how you can cancel flow run instead of terminating that, right? And there are pros and cons to either one. And Peter shows this other way to do it, which you might need to think about if you want to do it in a different way. And there are business cases for which you want to do it that way and not the other.
Yep, That's really cool. Good reference point and a blog post explaining that. Then Andrew Connell had a SPFX Basics initializing components constructor versus on init, and his take on the different options and the recommendations on how to do things when you are implementing a SPFX components. It's good to see Ayça is having more and more time on sharing things in the blog and also in a YouTube. So he had a YouTube channel restart pretty recently as well, which we didn't, by the way, check for this week.
Note to self for the next one.
No, I'll put that one in there. So that's waiting there.
Well, which
see, clever.
Yeah, this article, yeah.
Yeah. Good. Then Alex Adamov, he had an article about how you can use dev tools for Microsoft Teams, right? And oftentimes when you build for web, you want to be able to debug the code. And when you are in browser, it's simple. You press, I don't know what you press on Windows. Is it F12, F11? Yep, F12.
On Mac, I think that is Command Option, I guess. Either way, you can really easily enable developer tools in browser. But how can you do that in Teams desktop, right? Because there are differences for some things, how your app might work in browser versus desktop. So Alex is sharing with us a tip how you can do that for Microsoft Teams desktop, how you can enable the DevTools.
Yep, really, really cool stuff. It helps a lot on debugging and understanding how things are actually working. So really cool. Then Mark D. Anderson had a really conceptual blog post around SharePoint content management, distributed versus centralized. So how do we control and manage the content and the different options, different scenarios, considerations, and all of that. So really, really good blog post to think about the right decision for your company and for your project. And then we had from John C. Klein.
Yes, so Joanne wrote an article about, somebody asked her, can you use a SharePoint calculated column as a condition to auto-apply a retention label? And she basically goes through the case, okay, let's try it out. Let's see if it works, and if so, how. So that article goes into depth on that use case.
Yep, absolutely. A really, really good scenario as well. Xiao Ferreira had a really good tweet on the fact that on the last month, or this month actually, in February, depending on when you're watching this video, February 2022. February 2022, he actually published a new article every single day around Microsoft Teams, Microsoft List, Windows 11, or SharePoint. Thank you, Xiao, on that one. Really, really cool stuff. And in this tweet, he actually walks through all of those 28 articles with a short intro on that. So thank you. Really, really cool stuff for sharing your knowledge between the others, which is always, always valued. Then our Italian friend had a new BSS Tech Bytes video.
Follow-up. Yeah, so he talks about how you can manage or work with site columns and field in SharePoint using the Microsoft Graph. The Microsoft Graph is the API to communicate from your app with Microsoft 365, and it supports variety of things from task to planner to Teams to Outlook to calendar to emails to tasks to sites, and also site columns and fields. So in this video, Paula walks through what you can do, how it works, permissions you need, and so forth and so on. Really interesting way to learn in under 4 minutes about working with fields and site columns using the Microsoft Graph.
Yep, really, really good stuff. Thank you, Paula, on that one. April Dunham is back on doing YouTube videos as well, because I know that she was really, really, really busy on the work-related stuff. But it's basically good to have her back on creating new videos for her own channel. And this video is around Power Automate email table styling. So basically, how do we do the styling? How do we create the flow? And sending the email, structuring the HTML in the table format for outputting that in the right way in Power Automate. So really, really good stuff. One thing to notice here also is that she's doing a great job on splitting the videos. So if you're looking into explicitly jumping on an explicitly topic on that video, you can easily do
this
that.
This is so important. This is so important, right? Because like the one thing that I really love for articles and posts as opposed to video, that you can really quickly skim through headings and see like, okay, I mean, I know this part, I want to go in this part. And these links for a video this is just as important, right? Because like you need to be able, like if you know the basic or you know scenario, like you don't need to learn. Like I just need to see how, or I just need to see how I can do this part, and this makes it available, right? So this is so important.
And actually, if you search for this in Google and this comes up as your first response, it will actually do the splitting of the targeted video as well. So it has a lot of value for people to consume the video. So really cool stuff. Thank you for that. And then as the final thing, which we did an ad hoc thing, so AC had the blog post, Andrew Connell, AC, had the blog post around SPFX Basics, init components, constructor versus on init. And it's actually really cool that he's now doing the both things in article format or in the demo format. So actually showing the demo in the code and calling out things as well and explaining as an additional context on the article on the topic. So really cool stuff. And thank you, AC, on that. Cool. That's it now. That's it for now. That's it for now. That's it for now. That's it.
It is, isn't it?
It is. Yes, it is. Splendid, isn't it? What's happening this week? Anything interesting from your side?
We released the V5, so I think I'm going to take a week off.
Oh, there we go. That's fair. That is fair.
Not at all. So yeah, we still have tons of new ideas for the next version of CLI, which will ship at the end of March. We plan for there to have one command that will allow you, and this is really cool. So we worked together with Alex Rentiev from SPFX team to build a command in CLI that allows you to verify integrity of your project. And with that, like one thing that we see at times is that people misconfig dependencies or do some other things, and they experience an issue. And they submit an issue to GitHub. We need to triage that, and so forth and so on. And it can be so much easier if we can give them a tool that they can use by themselves to verify that everything is fine, because maybe they will be able to fix, I don't know, 3 or 5 out of 10 issues by themselves directly without having to wait for us to triage anything, right? So that's basically the idea, so that we can, based on the experience that we have so far, to offer a number of checks that we can then implement in a tool that people can use and just check like, hey, before I go with this anywhere, let me just check if everything's okay on my side. And then if that's the case and you still happen to have an issue, perfectly fine. But if there's something you can fix, let's do that first so that you can get ahead of it. And maybe that will be exactly the issue you have, right? So we're working on that. We hope that we will be able to include it at the end of March. That is one. We're doing some other improvements in CLI as well. On other things, I'm working still with a few of my colleagues on ability to, or trying to improve developer experience for developers who build Teams apps in Angular. So we hope that we will have something to show for that in the coming weeks. And other than that, I'm thinking about, like, we're planning together with a few folks, we're planning a new event around developing apps for Microsoft 365, and that event will take place at the beginning of May online. So stay tuned for more updates on that.
I guess I'm at that event as well on time. I guess I'm.
Or what? Yes, you are. Yes, you are. So we and a few MVPs.
Sure.
Are doing event with other folks as well. So that will be there. Let me see if anything else. I guess that is the most important thing. And there's of course like 20 other ideas that we have, which are really early stage. But who knows, if they come through, then we will have a lot of stuff to show.
Yeah.
How about you? You shipped SPFX, or you and your team shipped SPFX V1.14, correct?
Yep, a while back. Yeah. That was, I can't remember. That was 2 weeks ago.
84 years.
Yes. Time flies so fast.
Yeah, exactly.
And then I was out 4 days last week, and I'm still just, so it's good to have time off, but then knowing that when you come back, it's just impossible to catch up on all of the things. So staying away 4 to 5 days,
don't catch up on it.
I have 70 unread Microsoft Teams chats right now still, and it's just, but it's fine. It's fine. So I I'm working as the switchboard of many things, so I guess that's my role.
It
Okay.
almost begs for an app, right? That we could have in Teams. Like, okay, take everything that is unread, TLDR. Give me like one pager.
Yeah,
one
we talked
pager
about
of what
the
it
machine learning and the cognitive services with Ayça today. That would be actually really good. So can you give me
your personal assistant?
TDDR?
Yes. Yeah.
So which of these is anything which I should react on, and then prioritization.
Exactly,
So
and then maybe
really
based on the relationship with the person you have,
exactly.
Also assign to it importance. Like we are ideating here so much.
Timeout.
Like if you are ISV and you want to have a really cool app,
yeah, this is actually really good. Yeah, actually. That app though would need to have a huge access to your information, but if you trust the provider, yeah, why not actually? So
but then imagine how much time you would save.
Yeah, absolutely. Even though if you think about the Viva Insights emails which we're getting on a day-to-day basis, and after these meetings, they're really good. It's just
these are brilliant.
It's mind-blowing the stuff what is actually able to detect from the discussions and these are the things which you should be prioritizing today. And it's like, wow, this is scary.
Thank you for reminding me, right?
Exactly.
Hey, Viva.
Thanks, Viva.
Yeah.
But yeah, so a lot of that, I know that we will release 1.15 to beta quite soon as well for SharePoint Framework. So that's one side of my job is to be on the engineering side of the things. That team is now growing significantly, which is really cool. So let's see where I will balance my time again on the future, because we're growing a team in Texas as well. There's 2 teams in Redmond, and we have the China team already. So it's 24/7 timing.
It is. So it is, and I guess like that is really cool. Like if orgs manage to balance it or to organize all of that and the work, you can have a continuous stream of work, because when one team stops, the other starts, and that is so powerful. Because I imagine by the time you wake up, like there's somebody who has done like the whole day of work, and they can say, "Hey, I've done 1, 2, 3. I need decision on 4, and tomorrow, or maybe you can pick up on 4, and it can just go on and on and on, as opposed to say, I don't know, let's have a meeting somewhere, and then you're like, and the whole day you're gonna wait. Like, no,
we'll come back to you after the 9 a.m. Pacific time or whatever. No, it's 24/7.
Exactly.
So it's basically rolls through the earth. Of course, that requires that the teams and the people feel empowered and trusted, so that they can make their individual decisions, which is super crucial.
It isn't simple. Right, because like you need to have, as you say, empower, transparency, clarity, alignment, and all of that. But it is a muscle that if you can flex that,
it's an
opportunity of that is insane, because you can tap in talent across the world, right? It's not just the local team here, and then like and then in order for you to work with us effectively, you need to be located in the same. Like, why?
Exactly.
That is so 2020.
That's true. Cool. That's a great ending on the discussions. But thank you, Waldek, on another recording of PnP Weekly, episode 155. And thank you, Ayça Baş, for joining us on this week. And we'll come back with a new PnP Weekly within a week. Cheers. Later.
Bye.